right, welcome to the revolution, everybody. We got an awesome show today. We got the Hooligan Nation on, and we're talking about Kiss. And one of the reasons why we're talking about Kiss, because the Hooligan Nation, part of the title of your show is called a Kiss-centric podcast. So before we get into our top five, I want to talk about your show just a little bit. Since you have the title Kiss in it, is your show is it like mostly about Kiss? Is it everything? Is there a love for Kiss? You know what I mean? So what's your channels about with Kiss?
So I would say our Friday episode is probably about 75% of the time the main topic is Kiss. The other 25% of the time we go centric. So centric, we just did an episode on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 2026 nominations. We've done a artist spotlight of Jackal. We've done an album review of Guns N' Roses' Appetite of Destruction. We've done things like that. So we consider that Kiss-centric. Our Wednesday episode, which is now titled As the Kiss World Turns, is pretty much 100% Kiss. And it's more of a current events, news-based, event-based, shorter segment type of show. In the Friday show, we do music news, we do our weekly poll results, we do music we're listening to, we do other things, and then we go to the main topic. On our Wednesday show, we usually go right to whatever is the current events. And if there are no current events, we'll talk about an old Kiss article or a Kiss video or something like that. But 100% of the time, the Wednesday episode is just Kiss or Kiss related, like, Vinnie Vincent, who's not in Kiss, but
album for like $1 million.
yeah, $2 million. He wants to sell his album too. So I bought 3 of them. I figured, what the hell?
I'm sorry, Vinnie Vincent to me never, in my opinion, never fit with Kiss. I never liked Vinnie Vincent with Kiss.
I'm not sure that Vinnie fits anywhere.
No,
Vinny's a square peg that's trying to get stuck in a round
he's an idiot,
hole.
Right? He's smart. He's an idiot, because with Vincent Invasion, he had a great singer in Mark Slaughter, but he hated Mark Slaughter because he was given to them by the studio. Said, "Hey, this guy's a great singer." He didn't want him, and then of course we all know Mark Slaughter quit and started Slaughter, and Slaughter became way bigger than Vinnie Vincent. And it's almost like Vinnie Vincent self-destruct himself, because when he was with Kiss, you probably know more than me, but when he was with Kiss, he started to do longer solos.
Oh.
And Paul Stanley and them, Paul and Gene, they have a tight show. They have time schedule for this, and this, and they don't like it when people go outside their schedule. But Vinnie Vincent did, and apparently, what is it? He never signed, like, initially the contract, according to Gene. So that, he wouldn't sign it, so they bust him out because Vincent wanted more money, more solo time. I mean, I don't know if I'm wrong or right.
No, you're pretty much right on. The thing that's funny to me about Vinny is Vinny did his best work when he was with Kiss because he had a babysitter in Paul and Gene. And when he went to Invasion, he no longer had a babysitter, which is why things went off the rails. And look, 40 some years later, they're still off the rails. I mean, he was supposed to appear at an event near me in October. Of course, he canceled. And now he wants someone to buy his new album for $2 million. And then he wants to be able to control how they market it, how they promote it, how they do everything. Like, come on, man. It's 2026. You're a legacy act at best. Nobody's going to make their $2 million back on your album from streaming. It's like a train wreck. Everybody's going to look at it. I mean, if he put it out on Spotify or any streaming today, I would run over there and listen to it. But after that first listen, I don't know how many more listens it would get.
Joe is so right on the money about unions in cities, because I live in Seattle, and Seattle actually has a music curfew where if you play after a certain time, you got to pay more money. There's no way around it. You get fined. But my
big
top
shout
five,
out. Big shout out to Joe Pamplemuse.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is you and I discussed before the show, because I had a like top 5 Kiss albums. Should we add live albums or not? And I decided that if you have a live album that can be in the top 5, because we all know that the story of Kiss was almost dead in the water, and it took a live album that gave them their first million sales. And almost on every single show that I do, when I talk about individual bands, I always kind of share album sales. I just do it. I just do it just so people kind of understand how many albums a band sold. Because you can see right there, the number 1 album that sold the most is an live album, 9 million copies. That's the album that saved the band, because before that, they were selling, but not because the record company was brand new. It wasn't enough for that company. That company almost went bankrupt.
Couple times.
In a lot of ways, Alive saved the band and the company. And then, of course, you see Love Gun, 4 million copies. Alive 2 million copies. Destroyer, 2 million. Now, usually I never allow greatest hits, because that's like cheating. That's like, come on. We're not going to do that. But live albums, I will on this, because we know Kiss is a major part of live albums. And of course, just one thing about Kiss, there is so many albums. It's almost like, because there's so many albums, what era does someone like Kiss? Do you like all Kiss? Do you like the 80s, 90s, 2000s? The 70s. So what I love about top 5s here is it kind of tells me, what's your area of Kiss you like the most. Maybe it's all. I love that. So everybody, look at this. Guy put his in top 5. Everybody, put in your top 5 in your chat, and I'll show it, because this is an interactive show. This show is about all of us, not about me. It's not about Hooligan. It's about all of us getting involved in this. So when we start is, I'm just going to start. I'll start with my top 5, and then I'll go to you. And then, you want to explain, if you want to explain it, why you pick as number 5, or, we just move on. So I'll start it like this. So for me, my top 5, number 5 for me is Creatures of the Night. Creatures of the Night, even though the album did not sell well, it was almost like it was the return of Kiss, because anybody followed the story of Kiss, after they made that disco album, that disco song, which I'm not going to go through that song, because everybody knows me that Kiss has great songs, and there's songs I can't stand. There's that one song on that disco album 78 that I cannot stand, so I'm not going to bring it up. But after The Elder, I'm not going to get into The Elder. That's like whole another topic. Kiss was dead in the water. The only arenas they could sell out were overseas. Here in America, they couldn't even sell out a mid-show versus an arena. And Creatures of the Night kind of told the world, we're back. We're getting away from this pop shit. We're going back to rock. And, starting with Paul Stanley, Creatures of the Night, kick-ass song, Saint and Sinner. Of course, one of the best songs on the album, in my opinion, is sung by Gene Simmons. I Love It Loud. And the second best song on the album is War Machine, sung by Gene Simmons, written by Bryan Adams. So to me, it's a return of Kiss. And of course, you guys all know the story. Ace Frehley's on the cover, but we all know Peter Criss quit. And they didn't want the band to look like everybody quit, so they put Ace Frehley on the cover, but he didn't really record nothing on it. I think if I'm right, Hooligan, I think they finally credit Vinnie Vincent for doing it, but at the time the album came out, he wasn't credited. on that album.
We've actually done an episode on this, and needless to say, Creatures of the Night was an album that was created by a village, because there's session bass players in it. There's multiple, I think there's at least 6 session guitarists on the album. It's created by a village, and no one will ever know for sure who played on the album, because the producer of the album, Michael James Jackson, he died of COVID a few years ago. But before he died, he gave an interview where he said that he thought Ace Frehley was on at least one song on the album.
And Ace can't remember if he was,
but
or
he
not.
Can't confirm it. Ace has said until his death consistently he can't remember. I don't think anybody really knows in totality who played on that album. It's just great to have that another Kiss mystery.
Yeah. Well, what's your number 5?
My number five is Rock and Roll Over. It's probably the most straightforward rock and roll album that Kiss ever made. It's kind of funny because it comes right after Destroyer, and for whatever reason, they didn't go back to Bob Ezrin. They go back to Eddie Kramer, less of a scientist and more straightforward and direct. You can just randomly choose a song and it's a banger. I Want You, Take Me, Calling Dr. Love, Baby Driver, one of the most underrated Kiss songs ever, Mr. Speed, Hard Luck Woman, and Making Love forced this album to be in the top 5 for sure, at least for me. And on top of that, the album cover is probably in the top 5 of most iconic album covers that Kiss ever put out.
I don't want to say anything about the album because it's on my list, but somewhere else on my list. It is on my list, but so I'm going to keep what I'm going to say about the album a little bit later. So I'm going to go straight to my number 4. My number 4 is Love Gun. I mean, not just because the song Love Gun, it was the album that brought Ace Frehley's voice to the world, which shocked me. And I can't tell you why. I love Ace Frehley's voice. It's like real, it's raw, it's almost like we're singing in a way, you know, but also I Stole Your Love. Of course, now it's kind of weird when you start thinking about it. Christine 16. Now you're thinking about, will that song pass nowadays?
No.
They criticized for Christine 16. They came out nowadays. But Hooligan, Plaster, Caster, you know, even a song that a lot of people did not like, and I don't understand why on the album, is Tomorrow and Tonight. I think Tomorrow and Tonight was catchy, got a cool riff, and the way they sing it. But for some reason, a lot of people talk bad about that song, and I just don't understand. My opinion, I think the song is good, not the best on the album. You know, I think Christine 16, Shock Me, you know, Hooligan, they're better songs, but Tomorrow Tonight was a good song, and that's
probably belongs on Unmasked, and that's probably, I think, why most Kiss fans don't like the song. It's a little poppy for that record.
It can be, but sometimes when I listen to an album, right, I imagine what's going to sound like live. That type of song I can see live is a great tune to hear live, the way they sing it and the tones and all that. So sometimes people got to take out like, okay, yeah, I might not like it, it might sound too popish, but what does it sound like live? Because watching a band live takes the music total different direction.
Well, it's like that disco song that you don't want to name.
I know, I don't like it.
If you listen to that on the record, and then you hear it live, it's almost 2 completely different songs.
I know. I seen it. I heard the song live too, but you know, it's just like I tell a little secret, right? I took my wife to the end of the world tour here in Seattle. You know, last tour they did, And we all know their set list. When Kiss does a set list, they don't change it at all. And like, okay, this is the song. I'm gonna go bathroom. like there's certain songs that I know people love, like Tears Are Falling. I cannot stand that song. I'm gonna go bathroom here. I'm gonna go bathroom, dude. That's
look, they do that so you can build in your bathroom breaks.
But what's your number 4?
My number 4 is, and this is kind of funny because I can see this is how this list is going to go. My number 4 is Creatures of the Night, Kiss's heavy metal album with the most incredible booming drum sounds that I have ever heard on any album ever. Michael James Jackson, who produced this album, should be considered one of 3 producers that should be synonymous in the Kiss world, along with Bob Ezrin and Eddie Kramer. Outside co-writers helped create a renewed Kiss sound with songs like Rock and Roll Hell, I Love It Loud, Creatures of the Night, and War Machine as the highlights for me on this album. This album is so much more important than a lot of people give it credit for being. For anybody that was there, for anybody that's a Kiss historian, Dead in the Water was not the word to be used. I mean, it didn't sell well, it didn't tour well, but it set them up.
They had to rebuild it.
It set them up for Lick It Up, which also brought Michael James Jackson back to become another platinum album. The tour did much better. It was the beginning of Kiss making their comeback from Dynasty, The Elder, and Unmasked.
He puts Creature of the Night number 1, and Danny's a great music lover. He's seen all these bands through the 70s and 80s and 90s. He on our last live show in 1983, he showed us Kiss. He still had the Kiss tickets back in the day of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And trust me, Kiss is his favorite band. So Creatures of the Night, to a lot of people, it is love. Listen, one of my first videos I ever seen of Kiss, until this day, I say it's one of the best videos they ever did.
I Love It Loud.
That on the TV screen, and Gene did the power. It kind of told the world we're back.
It's a shame too. It's a shame too because Kiss was on the cutting edge. MTV was just starting.
Yep.
And anybody who was there knows MTV refused to play that video. Yeah. They would have nothing to do with it. And Kiss had to put a pretty good amount of money in it. And I still think it's a good video. But it never got played until after they took the makeup off.
I agree. All right. We're going to go to my number 3. And I'm going to go all the way back to the debut album of Kiss. I mean, come on, people. Come on. I know the production at the time is like the best production where they, at the time they didn't have money. But man, come on, Strutter, Nothing to Lose, Firehouse, Cold Gin. Those songs alone, they still sing live. Deuce, they still sing live. Black Diamond. I mean, even though the production might not be as high production people are used to like nowadays, but that Kiss debut album, to me, if you make a top 10 best debut albums, I would put Kiss debut in there. Even though it didn't like kind of like when Van Halen came out 78, it set the world on fire. They didn't technically set the world on fire, but it laid the groundwork to what the Kiss Army started to do, like the character, little by little, chip away. Here comes the Kiss Army, who technically saved the band with the whole that whole story about that. But yeah, my number 3 is the Kiss debut.
And you said something earlier about this. All of these songs that you named, they all sound 10 times better live.
Oh God, yes.
It seems to me like Kiss wrote and recorded songs thinking about the live versions of them instead of putting. And this has been said by both Gene and Paul, that one of their problems was they didn't want to spend the time in the studio. They wanted to go play live. So they just pushed material out And if they thought it was going to sound good live, it was good enough for the recording.
Yes. Yeah. Well, all right. What's your number 3?
Oh, funny enough, it is the self-titled debut. Look, it basically comes down to this. I think any self-respecting Kiss fan has to put the album in their top 5, simply because 6 out of the 10 songs on their first album was in the set list most, if not every time they played. Songs that exactly what
Most
you
songs
said.
came from that album live.
Nothing to Lose, Firehouse, Cold Gin, Deuce, and Black Diamond are all live classics. From 73 all the way to the end, past the end. Because when they played Kiss Landlocked in Vegas, I think they played at least 3 of those songs in that live show. If not more, it might have been 4 of those songs. So they're still playing them.
They are. They're just good, great songs. It's almost like it's not an album where you had just you got one great song, all the rest were average. They had any one of those songs are great. Any one of those songs could have been the first video. It's just that good. But all right, guys, we're going to go to my number 2, and I might have to explain this a little bit. I don't know if I really need to explain it or not, but I decided that since live albums are part of Kiss, I mean, it made Kiss versus other bands doing a live album. I don't usually add those where you add it to the top 5, but Kiss is different because we know the story how Alive saved the band. But my favorite number 2 is not Kiss Alive first one. Okay. People be like, what? No, calm down. Is Alive 2. Because Alive 2, like Alive 1, Kiss had more songs. They had more songs by the time they did this live album. This one actually had Christine 16, Calling Dr. Love, and one of my favorite songs on there, Rocket Ride. I love the song Rocket Ride. And then of course, where is it? It's just I understand people will say Kiss Alive 1 because that was the first one that saved the band, but I'm just trying to be honest with you guys. I just feel as a live album, I know there's stories. Is it really live? Did he go back in the studios? But all bands did that. But for me, Alive 2 is, to me, the number 2 on this list. It's just superior to Alive.
I agree with you, by the way. If I'm given a choice between Alive 1 and Alive 2, I usually choose Alive 2. I like the set list better, and I like side 4 with the studio tracks.
Yeah, it's just
not to mention the gatefold on the old albums. What was just one of the most amazing Kiss stage show pictures that I think's ever been created. It's completely fake the way they did it. Like, you never saw that in the actual show, but it is another iconic moment in Kiss history.
Yeah, and they kind of took a not saying a chance. We all know Rock and Roll All Night on Kiss Alive. That live version was bigger than the studio version. Just look at the sales. Look how that album came out. The studio didn't do that well, but the live did. In Alive 2, you would think that song will also be on here. It's not. So, they took a chance by leaving that song off, even though it was already on Alive. So, I give Kiss a lot of credit for saying, yes, I know this is one of my most popular songs for this live, but we're going to keep that song off. So I give them a lot of respect for that.
I think that's one of the cool things that Kiss did with their live album, especially with the first 2 live albums, trying not to put
try not to duplicate them.
Both. Yeah. I thought that was a very cool thing to do. I mean, God knows,
you're spending money. I don't want to buy the same thing.
Now, they had no problem doing that in their 300 compilation records.
Well, yeah.
They would replay the songs over and over again, but that's a story for another day also.
So what is your number 2?
My number 2 is Destroyer. In my opinion, starting off, it's the second most iconic Kiss album cover ever. The detailed and intricate production with intros and outros and funky sounds and instruments throughout this album make Bob Ezrin a large part of the success of this album. Kiss were by far, in my opinion, the kings of the album openers, and Detroit Rock City probably being the best of them all. Then songs like King of the Nighttime World, God of Thunder, Sweet Pain, Shout It Out Loud, Beth, and Do You Love Me? If it wasn't for Great Expectations and that noise that they call Rock and Roll Party, this would be the perfect Kiss album. But they always seem to shoot themselves in the foot by putting something on every album that made it a little less than perfect. In the first album, it was Kissin' Time, and it was it just left me.
Yeah,
Love Theme from Kiss.
But
like
Kissing Time wasn't really their fault. That was pushed by the record company.
Absolutely. But it still makes it still hurts the album.
Yeah. You know, what's interesting about Destroyer, if people a little history of Destroyer, when Destroyer first came out, the album was not a hit.
No.
It was not going to sell over 1 million copies. But there was a song on there that Paul and Gene, they said it. They didn't like it. They didn't want it. They didn't want it on the album. They didn't play on it. And, that little song, Beth, where the story goes that a DJ, it was a side B song, played side B. And that song, Beth, that was actually won a Grammy that following year, is Peter Criss have said this, that Beth is the song that bought every Kiss member new cars. That's
probably more than new cars.
The album, everything else, came through. Gods of Thunder, Detroit Rock City. But it took that little ballad to save their ass on that album.
Yep. That opened the door for the rest of those songs to become what they were. If Beth doesn't exist, chances are pretty good that we're not sitting here talking about Kiss almost 50 years later because of that one song. And look, it still creates controversy. It's creating controversy in 2026. That's a sign of a good song, I think. People are still talking about it 50 years later.
Other people claim that Peter Criss stole lyrics. I know. It's like, or these
blah 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 blah
blah blah blah. I mean, it's like anytime somebody gets a hit song, there's always somebody else says that came from us or that riff came from us. And every song, all riffs started somewhere else.
Gene just wants to kick Peter. That's I mean, we've been dealing with this as Kiss fans for over 50 years.
That's easy to say. They were like the band Rat, they were dysfunctional.
Yeah.
There's no saying about that. Well, I guess everybody's gonna know my number one because you brought it up as your number 5 or 4. I can't remember now.
I think it was my number 5.
I think Rock and Roll Over is number 1 for me. And I remember Paul Stanley, talked about that a lot of Kiss fans were kind of upset with Destroyer because the high production, hardcore Kiss fans wanted more of that raw sound. So Paul and Gene wanted to make sure that this album captures, the higher production, but still that raw sound that was in it. So songs like I Want You, Take Me, of course, Calling Dr. Love, Baby Driver, and Love 'Em, Leave 'Em, and of course, my opinion, my favorite song on this album, Mr. Speed. I mean, way Paul Stanley sings it, the rhythm, the riffs, and Peter Criss, a Hard Luck Woman. It's almost like I'm listening to like a CCR kind of a song, Making Love. I mean, to me, Rock and Roll Over, even though I know it's Destroyer is the one that proved it, but Rock and Roll Over to me is like all those albums put together and all that hard work. Like this is the album that it really came together to me to make the most perfect album. I know a lot of people might not think Rock and Roll Over is it even in their top 5? And I understand that. I get that. But to me, I think the album's perfect. I think they came in on their own. And I think Paul and Gene were smart to say, yeah, that last album had a lot of production. We want to go back a little bit to our roots. And I think it came out to a perfect album. That's just my opinion. I mean, it's in your top 5, but most people would have put it number 1.
And I think most of these albums in the top 5 can be interchangeable. And I think even for me, I mean, my number 1 is my number 1. It's been my number 1 since I was probably 10 years old.
Now. What is your number 1? I'm curious. I can't wait to hear it.
2, 3, 4, and 5 could be interchangeable depending on my mood and the day.
Of course.
And Rock and Roll Over, I believe Rock and Roll Over is probably the majority's choice.
Really?
I think if you're over 50, Rock and Roll Over is the majority's choice. Look, I can't speak for those younger than 50. Destroyer's a great album, but Destroyer is not what Kiss was. Rock and Roll Over was more of what Kiss was. Straightforward, plug in, no games, no, we're just gonna play what we play and do what we do. So I think Rock and Roll Over more describes Kiss than Destroyer does. I'll get some hate for that.
I love hearing that from you. It makes sense. People over 50 usually, okay, that's cool because I am over 50.
Yeah, I think we just naturally go towards the older stuff, and I think if you're really a diehard Kiss fan, in my opinion, you're going to pick Rock and Roll over Destroyer, because Destroyer, it's great production, but there's a lot of production.
It is.
In Destroyer.
There's a lot. You know, but I gotta hear this now. So what is your number 1?
My number 1 album is Love Gun.
Okay. And that was my Love Gun was my number 4. So yeah, I could see it. I love Shock Me on it. Again,
first thing, and I always look at these albums in the whole big picture. To me, Love Gun's album cover is the single most iconic album cover. And then we roll into one of the most iconic album openers ever in I Stole Your Love. Hits like Shock Me, Love Gun, and Hooligan. Now, I may be biased about Hooligan since we named our podcast Hooligan Nation, but to me, it's right there with Mr. Speed as being the 2 most criminally underrated Kiss songs.
I agree.
With one of the most wicked Ace Frehley guitar solos that he's ever put down. Even the songs that I don't like, I still love. I don't think Kiss ever made a perfect record, but for me, this is as close as it gets.
Again, I think the song Tomorrow Tonight is underrated, in my opinion. I was saying that earlier, that for some reason, people crap on that song, and I don't know why.
I think everybody's got their
thing.
For me, it's I Stole Your, or it's I Still Love You. I cannot stand I Still Love You. Everybody loves it. I hate it. I hate it because to me, it's Paul's knockoff version of Beth.
Yeah.
And that's what makes me hate it. But every Kiss fan has their own favorites and has their own least favorites. And that's the cool part about talking to Kiss fans and doing something like a podcast, is because you're never going to get 2 Kiss fans to agree on most things.
What do you think of that remake, Then She Kissed Me? I didn't think it was bad. You know, I thought, you know, it reminded me a lot of Kissing Time in a way. I mean, I can see people not liking it, you know, like it. I didn't think it was bad. I thought it was all right. I
don't like 50s rock and roll. It's just not my thing. And that reminds me of that. And I don't know. like instead of having to put an extra song on that's going to bring the entire album down, just leave the song off. And that's what Kiss didn't do, is put out an album with 8 or 9 songs that they're 8 or 9 great songs, instead of pushing to put an album out, oh, we have to have at least 10 songs, and then the 10th song sucks. And to me, that's what And Then She Kissed Me was. If you listen to the words of the songs, they changed the she's from he and the he's from she's, and it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit anything. It doesn't make any sense. At least to me, it doesn't make any sense.
No, that makes sense. So my good friend says Kiss Unplugged is the best unplugged album I ever heard.
Oh, I'll agree with that by far.
It really is. It's a great unplugged, especially when I loved it when Ace Frehley, Peter Criss, of course, joined it, and then I think one of the best remake songs that I felt the band did right was Ace Frehley's Rolling Stone song 2000 Man. The way Ace Frehley sung that, especially on the Unplugged, he made that song his own. And when you could do that with the somebody else's song, and almost make it like it's your own, that's a kick ass. I love that.
They did that on that Unplugged album. They did that with one of their own songs, because Coming Home from Hotter Than Hell, I hate it. I don't like the song at all. And then the unplugged version of Coming Home is one of my favorite songs ever. I mean, it's how they remade their own song and to me made it 100 times better is an amazing thing. They did the same thing, Unplugged, Nothing to Lose. Oh, that to me is perfection right there.
Oh, nothing. Oh God, nothing. Oh, that song, Nothing to Lose, on that Unplugged. It's so made for Unplugged.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. You know, one of the albums that if I didn't put Kiss Alive 2 in it, there is an album like you're talking about. There's Kiss songs that people love, and there's Kiss songs that people hate. There's an album I was almost had it in my number 5. This is just a bonus. But there's a song on there I cannot stand, but I love the album. I was almost going to put Revenge on there because the amount of songs, because Kiss after the 80s, in the 80s, always felt like the whole album wasn't good. There were signature songs, and then the rest sucked. And the thing is about Revenge, they had more good songs than having a lot of fluffs. Like Gene Simmons' Unholy, badass motherfucking song. Domino, the way Gene sings Domino, I love that little bluesy kind of a thing. And even their ballad, Every Time I Look at You, I think that's a better ballad than Michael Bolton song. I forgot what's called. But even though I was almost, of course, I Just Wanna. I mean, come on, give me a break. That song is awesome. But there's one song on there I cannot stand, and when they sing it live, I go take a crap. I cannot stand God Gave Rock and Roll to You. I hate that song so much. I don't know why. I love the album. It could make my number 5, but to me, take that song off, it's a masterpiece. I know a lot of people love it. I get it, but I hate that song.
It's pretty funny because if this was a top 6, I was going to put Revenge as my 6th favorite.
Yeah.
And the only thing I would add is I love the song Heart of Chrome. And that's just because it's a song written for Samantha Fox. And I was a huge Samantha Fox fan when I was a kid.
No, the whole
and Paul was dating Samantha Fox.
You know, like I said, Paralyzed. I mean, again, it was an album that people always say, oh, everybody always picks Revenge. It's because Revenge had more good songs. Because when you start going into albums, and again, everybody has different opinions, and I understand that. Like, I know a lot of people who love Crazy Nights. Hey, I never cared for that song, Crazy Nights. I think the song Reason to Live is way better than the song Crazy Nights. That's just my opinion.
I always felt like when you're a Kiss fan, you have to be able to separate the sounds. So for what Kiss was trying to do in the mid 80s, Crazy Nights is a good album. It is not a great album. I do not like every song on it, but there are songs on it that I like. There is an element of overproduction that anybody with ears can tell. But for what it was, Asylum and Crazy Nights, they were a moment in time, just like, to me, Revenge is the sequel to Creatures of the Night. It's the return of that harder, borderline heavy metal Kiss. And if any of your subscribers out there aren't huge Kiss fans and don't know this, Larry Mazer became their manager around that time. And Larry Mazer, he's got 3, 4, maybe 5 interviews out there. He's a good interview too, from what I saw. And he tells the stories of bringing the demon back. And if you go back to that time and you look at the videos, that's exactly what they were doing, is they were bringing the demon back from his movie star 10-year I'm not going to pay attention to the band thing. And they actually brought him back in. And in a lot of ways, I think it was the second or third time that Kiss was saved, was Revenge. The problem is it just didn't last long enough. The music industry changed. Grunge came in. If that doesn't happen, Revenge could have changed everything. Because if Kiss follows Revenge up with another Revenge-like album and it sells and the grunge factor isn't there, we may never have gotten a reunion because they wouldn't have needed to.
Yeah.
So grunge, in a way, helped all of us that grew up at that wrong time, because we grew up at the wrong time. We're not old enough to have seen Kiss in makeup the first time around. Most of us aren't. And we're too old to be really crazy about the newer stuff that they put out. So we grew up somewhere in the middle of that. I don't know what the world would have been like if I didn't get to see the original 4 in makeup again.
I agree. And again, we talk about, Revenge had a lot of solid songs, not like where, Hot in the Shade was successful just because of the one ballad, Forever. But there is a question I have to ask you. I always ask, like, Kiss fans. Like, of course, we all know the song "Hide Your Heart." There's the Kiss version of "Hide Your Heart" with Paul Stanley singing on it, and then there's the Ace Frehley "Hide Your Heart." Of course, Ace Frehley singing this song. For whatever reason, I always prefer the Ace Frehley. I love his voice better for that song. But I'm curious, "Hide Your Heart," Paul Stanley or Ace Frehley?
If I was going to choose one of the two, I would choose Ace Frehley. In reality, I don't like either version.
The songs, I agree. It's not great.
It's not so. I don't like "Hot in the Shade." I think "Hot in the Shade" probably should have been an EP, because I think there's about 4, maybe 5 good songs on it. And the rest of them are garbage filler. Whoever came up with the idea of let's put 15 songs on that album is crazy. I can't stand it. I really can't. Like, I'll pick The Elder over "Hot in the Shade." I'll pick Unmasked over "Hot in the Shade." I'll pick Carnival of Souls over "Hot in the Shade." I just don't like it. I try over and over again, because I'm very mood based on a lot of my music. So I'll put "Hot in the Shade" on and I can make it usually through like 3, 4 songs. And I'm like, no, this isn't going to change.
I think after "Creatures of the Night" is when they went to the period where, like, Animalize. I love Heaven's on Fire. I had enough Into the Fire, but then all the rest of the songs are to me just, fluffs, where they seem like every other album you had some decent and bad.
Yeah.
It's like the 80s version was just, you might get one or two good, but all the rest is bad until you got to Revenge, where every song was average and above. But I mean, that's just what you kind of got with Kiss. But no, I got a question for you, because I don't understand people.
Me neither.
And I'll tell you why. Because, people, I love Gene Simmons. I love when Gene Simmons speaks, because he doesn't care what you think. He says what he wants. And so many people always say, I just want my artists to be honest. I want them to say how they feel. And here you got Gene, who does that. And a lot of people bash him. Like, oh, that's just Gene. Don't you want your artist to be honest? I mean, Gene doesn't care what you think. He'll just say it. And I respect that. I just don't understand why people hate Gene when he speaks. When it's like you want honesty, you get it, and you don't like what he says.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what I guess it depends on whether his honesty is factual or not. When it comes to things like politics, I think every artist can say whatever they want, because it's an opinion-based thing. Gene tends to say things to try to get a reaction.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff sometimes that becomes a problem, I think, for a lot of Kiss fans. And the other thing is, and Gene should know this by now, in the pecking order of popularity, Ace is by far number one today, and Peter is probably number two. And I think that greatly pisses Gene and Paul off. But they have said things and done things over the year, and every time they do it, they elevate Ace and Peter higher. It's the Howard Stern show video that we talk about on our podcast probably too much, where Paul Stanley sits there and says, if we brought them in the group, we would have to rename the band from Kiss to Piss. Come on, man. Yep. Like, your fans don't want to hear that. First thing. The second thing is, you have no factual basis for that. When you look back and you see that Ace constantly put out material during that time, and look at now. If you were to take Monster, Sonic Boom, Peter Criss's new solo album, and 10,000 Volts, like, if it wasn't 10,000 Volts, Peter Criss's solo album, Sonic Boom, and Monster, it's somewhere close to that.
Yeah.
So you're talking about how great musically the band is with Eric Singer and Tommy Thayer, who I think are both great musicians. I think Kiss fans need to give both Eric Singer and Tommy Thayer a lot of respect, because we got an extra 20-some years out of them. Do I like them in the makeup? Absolutely not. That's my only issue, is the makeup. And I wish Tommy Thayer would please stop singing Ace Frehley-like songs.
It's a disgrace.
When lightning strikes and stop singing about electricity. Like, stop. It's over. We did Shock Me. Like, let's move on. Tommy was still doing that when it came to Monster and Sonic Boom, and probably being pushed by Paul and Gene to do that.
He was. He wanted to do his own thing, but
one of my favorite Kiss concerts ever, not my favorite, but one of my favorite, was at Kiss Cruise Landlocked in Vegas last year, and it was because Eric Singer and Tommy Thayer walked out on stage, no makeup, no costumes, no acting. Tommy Thayer wasn't walking backwards. He wasn't doing the Ace Frehley moves. He was Tommy Thayer, and they were great that night. The video is on YouTube everywhere. They were a great band that night. They sang The songs that Paul could sing, I don't think he had a bad song in the set list as far as singing went. The band looked good, they played well, but don't compare them to the 1978 version of Kiss to the Kiss fans that come from the 70s and 80s, because you won't win. So in cases like that, I think Gene does need to shut up, respect the history of the band, respect two of the founding members, and stop throwing digs at them every chance they get. There's no reason to bring up Beth after 50 years and question who wrote it when you weren't there. There's no reason to do that. The only reason to do that is to get your name out there and get the publicity. That's the only reason to do that.
He's the master of that.
But I think at a certain point, it starts to backfire. And I think since Ace died, it's backfiring. Look, he came out maybe a month after Ace died, right at the Kennedy Center honors, and just starts throwing out accusations that Ace was not sober. Dude, if you want to do that, there's nothing wrong with that, but you better come with some proof.
Yeah, because he wasn't. He was sober.
Right.
He's been sober the last 20, 30 years. You know, the only thing I will say is, you know, I respect Paul Stanley in one way where if it wasn't for Paul Stanley, Kiss would have been long gone, because at the time in the early 80s, remember Gene was doing movies, right? Gene was in a fantastic movie called Runaway. He was awesome villain in that movie but it almost a movie. I did a show one time just on the movie Runaway, how it predicted the future with flying drones, you know, and bullets that heat missile. You know, Gene was checked out, and Paul brought him back to reality and say, "Hey, listen, I need you here." So Paul Stanley got to get credit for that, because, you know, Gene was almost gone too, just with the rest of them.
They were Paul Stanley solo albums.
And one of the most underrated movies, in my opinion. Gene wasn't a huge part of the movie, but I love Gene in Trick or Treat. I love that freaking 1987, 86 movie. I loved it. I love that movie. He plays the DJ, which technically they wanted Gene Simmons to play Sammy Kerr, but Gene's like, well, that character is too close to what I am with Kiss. I'll be the DJ. And of course, they got one of those golden dancers to play Sammy Kerr. I think that movie, I love that movie. I watch it every single year. But, you know, so Gene.
Boy, I haven't watched that movie probably since 1986 or 87.
It's rights issues why you don't really see it. Like, I own it on Blu-ray, but I had to get the German copy to be able to watch it. But beyond that, I know we're getting closer to the end, you know. But Ace Frehley, you know, when he left the band, I love Ace Frehley throughout the 80s because I love his. I mean, Rock Soldiers is one of my favorite top 10 80 songs. Into the Night. And I said this 2-3 years ago when the album 10,000 Maniacs, 10,000 Maniacs, 10,000 Volts. I'm thinking of the girl singer, 10,000 Maniacs, that band. But I said that year in 2024, that was one of the best top 5 albums in that year. I mean, not just the song 10,000 Volts. I love Back Into My Arms Again. Cosmic Heart, Cherry Medicine's that fun riff, that fun way he sings it that you kind of miss from the 80s. Up in the Sky is a freaking awesome. Fighting for Life. I mean, that album, in my opinion, kicks so much ass. It's kind of weird because I did not like the last 3-4 albums that Kiss did. I thought, just my opinion, I thought those were garbage. I'm like, how come they didn't do what Ace Frehley just did? I thought compared to those albums, Ace Frehley made a masterpiece.
You know, we had a guest on 2 weeks ago. Gabriel Connor from Red Devil Vortex. Anybody who doesn't know Red Devil Vortex, go on Spotify or Apple Music and listen to them,
And
because
they're on YouTube also.
well, they're all over YouTube.
Yeah.
They are the future to me. But Gabriel Connor brought up, in the course of our discussion, he talked about how Sonic Boom and Monster was the 2009 and 2012 version of Kiss, trying to sound like they were in the 70s, and that's why it doesn't resonate with the fans of the 70s Kiss. Ace did something with 10,000 volts, and let's be honest, let's give Steve Brown from Trickster a lot of credit for co-writing and producing.
He wrote most of it.
But they mixed together the 80s. I guess I can say the word hair metal on this show.
Yeah.
So
hair metal, doesn't matter.
They mixed the 80s hair metal with 2026 and spot on, clean, great production to create, in my opinion, the best Ace Frehley solo album since the 1987 Frehley's Comet album. And for me, if I was going to put them in order, it's Ace's 78, and then it's Ace's 87, and then it's 10,000 volts.
Dude, if I was going to add the solos, or I mean, the one he did with Kiss, that would have been easy in my top 5. But I kept the Gene, Paul, Peter off the top 5. Ace Frehley's solo with Kiss is perfection.
Yeah,
I mean, it truly is perfection. And again,
we keep it out. We keep it out too. We keep it out. We keep the solo albums out of most things because I'm always afraid that it's going to be number 1.
Yes.
Ace Frehley's 78 solo album very well could be the number 1 Kiss album. Anybody who came up with that and said that it was their number 1 Kiss album, I wouldn't think was crazy.
I wouldn't either.
Now, if they came with Gene's or Peter's, well, then I think they're a little crazy.
And dude, and I don't know, a lot of people don't talk about Ace Frehley's Trouble Walking album. Oh my God.
Oh, I think that's
good
great.
Songs on that album, not just the title track, Trouble Walking, Shot Full of Rock, cool remake, Do Ya? 5 Car Stud is an awesome song.
Never Too Young to Die.
Oh, of course. That so people don't talk about that one. That solo album is fantastic. And of course, we all know he always loves to put remakes on every album, and he does a Fracture type of instrumental song, which is fine. That's the only thing I didn't really like on 10,000 Maniacs. His choice of remake is that song from I guess that singer did it in a movie, a James Bond movie. I didn't really care for that song, but usually he does a good job on picking pretty good remakes to make it his own.
He does, and I think that's the key thing right there, is he makes it his own. Going all the way back to New York Groove, that's his own song. If you listen to the first version of New York Groove, it's a lot different than Ace's version of it. Like they're not just walking in the studio and saying, "Oh, let's just play the song and get this over with."
Yeah, and
Ace is rebuilding the song from ground up.
And I know this is not technically a remake, but when he did the Origins album, and I get it, it's almost remakes, but he redid Cold Gin on the Volume 1 album. I love his version of Cold Gin. He made that guitar sound sharper because the production is a lot more than when the debut album. Mm-hmm. But he did such a great job because he wrote that song. You know, even though Gene sang the original, Ace really wrote that song. And I love that. I know it's not a remix, weird, right? It's on a remake album, but he wrote it. But I love his version of the song Cold Gin.
Yeah, I always liked his live version. When Ace sang Cold Gin or Deuce live, I always seemed to like his versions of it. I like Gene's versions. Unfortunately, when you're a diehard Kiss fan, you get tired of hearing the same versions over and over again. Cold gin and Deuce every concert, every chance they get. It's like Rock and Roll All Night. I love Rock and Roll All Night, the live version, no matter what year. But I could go without listening to it ever again.
And right before we go, what I always do at the end of the show is I always show people your channel. What it look like here. I'm going to copy and paste it. I'm also going to put it. I'm going to put it in the chat here. But this is your channel, Hooligan Nation, a Kiss-centric podcast, and you got a lot of content. You go to videos. I mean, I just want to show everybody, like, look, amount of content. What I love about new channels, if people discovering the first time, is you got so many videos to go through. Like, I can listen to this. Here you are talking about Steve Brown of Trickster, the production of Ace Frehley we were just talking about, which he deserves so much credit in the world, because it's not easy for anybody to produce an older artist who kind of, even Ace, they're set in their ways. And Steve Brown found a way to work with them, to work on his schedule, because Ace was known to be a little lazy sometimes, not showing up to record and all that. So Steve Brown deserves every credit in the world for getting him in there. And you do a couple live. You did a couple live here.
Yeah, only a couple of them.
And
I like to be able to edit myself.
No, I hear that 100%. I hear that 100%. It just I do some recordings too, but I also want to have a channel where I do some live stuff, so people feel like they could come and say stuff like top fives. I get to put it on there. People, it's where their words, we listen to them, because without them, we have no show.
Yeah, I would love that. That's the draw for me.
The only thing that sucks for both of us, I know sucks for everybody, that we just can't really use music clips, like hearing certain songs. Like I did a just last week I did a whole Heartbreak Station about Cinderella's Heartbreak Station, and the rule is if you do like under 7 seconds, you could get away with it. But nope, Shelter Me, boom, copyright. For a song that I only played for 7 seconds, it's almost like not even the 7-second rule works. I wish, because I feel like if people listen to like some of the songs that we talk about on an album, they get understand why we like that album, but we can't. It sucks.
I get hit. I have gotten hit, not with copyright strikes, but with copyright claims.
Yeah, claims. Yeah.
For music videos that have no sound in them. I'll play 10 seconds of a music video with no sound, and UMG will give me a copyright claim for it.
Is what we call the devil of YouTube. They do not even 5 seconds. They will not release nothing to you at all. UMG's like, boom.
Doesn't make any sense.
Everything.
Doesn't make any sense to me, because all we're doing is promoting their material.
Now, if we play the whole song, the whole video,
I can understand that.
But some cool companies like Warner Brothers, if they own it, if I send a claim back to them, they usually release it to me. But UMG, no, forget about it.
I've stopped trying. I don't even try right now.
But to me, I don't make money, so I don't care. If they want to make the money off the ads, go for it.
It's a principle thing for me. I don't want to share. I mean, I'm making about 3 cents a day, and you want to share, and somebody like UMG wants to share revenue. What are you going to do with a penny and a half? Like, do you really need that?
Not thinking that because of you, people are going to be listening to it through Spotify. I have YouTube Premium. You can listen on there. They're going to make more money on the back end. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right, Danny. Danny, you're right. Somehow my brother plays whole albums and he gets away with it. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how my brother does it.
I think it's the luck of the draw sometimes.
Tell the people real quick, what's coming up next for you?
Tonight we are recording
East Coast or Pacific?
East Coast.
East Coast time. Okay.
I'm in New Jersey, so
and I'm in Seattle. We're both opposite side. I used to live in Cape May, New Jersey.
Yeah, it's about 3.5 hours from me. I'm on the other side of the state. I'm on the top of the state.
I was in the Coast Guard. I was stationed in Cape May, so it was...
Well, it's not a bad place to be stationed, I guess.
No.
So we're recording tonight. We're recording for an episode on Friday. It's a series that we've been doing for probably about 6 months now. It's our album Death Match. And we're going to be doing something different tonight. We're going to take Monster and put Monster against Sonic Boom.
Mm.
And what makes it really new for us is we're going to flip a coin right before we do the death match and choose who gets which album. So there's 3 of us, and anybody from my podcast that's on here will know Black Diamond Dave is going to go against me, and we're going to have Father Rocco as the third party judge to break the ties, except Black Diamond Dave and I don't know which album we're defending until we get on there and flip the coin. So we're just trying to make things more interesting.
In the future, if you ever want to do an episode where you want a 4th guy just to have an outside person, let me know.
Absolutely.
I love this stuff. I love this stuff is, to me, is great and all that. Well, everybody, it's time to go. I appreciate everybody being here. I don't have the link up for Friday yet, but I will have another live show this Friday. I'm thinking about doing a live show on, you guys know I did a video where I did the top 5 David Lee Roth Van Halen albums. I did a top 5 Sammy Hagar Van Halen. I thought maybe this Friday I'm gonna mix them both together. So what's in my top 5? Do I have more David, Sammy? Because everybody knows I love them both. So beyond that, you guys.
I'm a Sammy guy.
I know. I love Sammy's voice. So this is, it's. I don't want to say anything else because I think a lot of people will be shocked when they see my top 5 when I add the 2 bands together. So beyond that, I'll see you guys next time.
We'll build a brighter future for everyone.
Like my little